Supposedly.
And we're live.
I think it's live now.
It says
Hello,
it
welcome,
is.
Dark Histories live stream. If you'd like to come onto the stream, I've just put the link into the description. You might need to refresh the page, but the link is in the description if you want to come on. You're more than welcome. Today we're going to talk about Beast of Sheveldan, which is a fantastic episode because don't we all just love cryptozoology and crazy pig dogs? I think we do. I've got Hallie with me so far.
There's no more Hollywood squares pointing. It just pops up and off.
Oh, of course, yeah. I think I'm the only person that can even see that square.
Yeah, you are, because I can see you and you can see me simultaneously, but that's about it.
Oh, yeah. All right, so I've got Hallie with me today. If anyone else would like to come on, you're more than welcome. It's a free for all. How's everyone doing anyway? It will snow until mid-June here. Dollyface says. Wait, it snowed. What now?
No, it's mid-May. Oh, what? Wait, snow.
Hallie has a beast.
Oh, I do. Yes, I do. My own little beast of Gévaudan. I can see right now she's already destroyed the window panel, but that's okay.
I don't think it's eating anyone though. Look at the size of it.
Not today.
Although he's quite keen on the window.
Oh yeah.
So, Beast of Sheveldan.
Oh, yeah.
Sharona, hello.
Hi.
How you doing?
Hi.
Good. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Good to see you.
I would have
Great
been
to
here
have you
sooner,
on.
but I had to make coffee.
Oh, well, some things are more important.
Congratulations on your nephew.
Thank you very much. He is tiny and adorable, and we've nicknamed him Squeak because that's what he does.
That's great. That's great.
It's been a while since I've had a tiny baby.
Has it?
In my life. So it's interesting.
It's not been long enough.
It's not mine, so I can give it back.
Oh, right. That's all right.
Perfect.
That's the best part.
In about 2 weeks, you'll be feeling like it's not been long enough.
Yeah. Oh, no. See, I don't have to be woken up in the middle of the night to, feed it.
Yeah, that's the best part. When it gets chicken pox, run the other way.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. I can attest to that. Bugger that disease. Yeah, much better, thanks. Yeah, I've still got still trying to cover my scars up with bloody makeup every day, but otherwise, yeah, it's all right. I mean, this is getting well off topic already, but yeah, I've become very attached to concealer.
Haven't we all?
Anyway, Beast of Sheveldan. So
enough of my makeup talk, he says.
Yes.
Welcome to our makeup channel.
Yeah, reviewing concealers today. No.
Oh.
Ben getting off topic. No way. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
So.
Who has ADD here?
Sorry.
I said, who has ADD here?
Yeah, all of us. I think so. We're all right.
I have like massive ADHD.
Although I think Hallie actually legit has it, not just kind of.
Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah. No, like my doctor saw me once when I wasn't on my Adderall, and he looked at me and said, "What's the matter with you?" I go, "This is why you give it to me."
Yeah. This is why I need it.
Yeah.
So the Beast of Sheveldan, yeah?
Yeah.
So I thought we'd kind of start with the obvious question, and we'll just go through kind of. So what do we think the beast actually was like? And that's kind of a big question, so it's going to be split up. But the Beast of Sheveldan, it was obviously, it was obviously something was killing lots and lots of people. So it definitely something existed. But do we think that it was Just confirming the diagnosis. Do we think that it was actually anything real? And so kind of going to start and run through a list of the things, and we're going to kind of just discuss if we think it's possible. So let's start with hybrids, just because they're amazing fun. Do we think it was like a dog bat or a pig dog or monkey bear or something like that?
If you cross a wolf and a pig, is that like a wig or is it a wog? It's like a wolf.
I don't know, but in this country, that's a very bad word.
That's right, it is. I totally forgot about that.
But luckily, it's really late at night, so it's okay. No one else
knows. I forgot.
No one else is awake in the UK.
Yeah, no one else in the UK is awake, so you can probably ride that one out if I hadn't said anything. I just threw you under the bus.
I know.
Yes.
No. Yeah, it's a bad thing.
Akin to the N-word in America.
I know. I forget.
So let's move on from that. I think it's probably a wig.
Okay, I'll go with that. It's no worse than the cat in the Christmas tree plant.
Yes. So do we think hybrids are possible?
Is it possible?
Yeah, I mean, their idea of hybrids was obviously way off.
Yeah, I mean, they thought you could, cross like a hamster and a snake and get, a fuzzy slithering thing. I mean, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
Because they just didn't know. I mean, they didn't know back then.
I mean, genetically speaking, you can cross similar species like lions and tigers, obviously, but they will not reproduce.
Yeah, because
yeah, they'll be sterile.
Distinct species, like you're not going to cross a pig and a bear. And
I think
anything.
this. I think it was just their genetic their idea of genetics was obviously quite young at the time.
Right.
It's all brand new.
Yeah, so they kind of came up with this kind of concept that it might be a hybrid. I mean, it could still have been a hybrid, but I don't think it's a hybrid in the sense of what they might have thought. I think what they thought was well out there.
Right. I mean, maybe a wolf and a dog. And there have been some very large wolves and very large dogs. Yeah,
like Victoria says as well, like coyotes and dogs or whatever kind of breed, like that kind of wild side. A bit like my cat, I mean, that's a hybrid. But it's close. It's
She's vicious.
She is vicious. I don't think she would eat people, but I definitely think she would kill children.
Yeah, but she'd have fun with them first.
And now we know why Ben has this cat.
Yeah, it keeps me safe. Keeps my nephews at bay. But yes, I mean, hybrid, I think, is pretty much more or less out the window, but I do think there is a level, because Victoria says about the coyote dogs, there is a kind of part of it where I think it could have been just not quite how they thought.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen Russian bear dogs.
Yes, I love those.
Massive.
Oh, they're beautiful.
They're gorgeous, but they're massive.
Yes, I know.
So.
Are they those just huge kind of fluffy things that I could ride?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a guy in my city who has one, and it's kind of famous because he walks around with it in the city, and everyone knows it.
But he's like,
I don't know.
A bear?
I don't know where he lives, but there is a guy in England who has a breeding pair, and he has 4 of them, 4 or 6, total. And but they're just gorgeous, but he's got 4 to 6 of them, and obviously he has the property for it.
I was going to say he has to live somewhere out in the country, not in the city, because that's a lot of room.
Yeah, they're all very, very well behaved from what I've been able to see, but piss one off and we'll see how long that lasts.
Yeah, so it's possible. I do think hybrids are they're not so crazy. Tibetan Mastiffs that was over £200 exactly. So there are things that it could have been, but
And I mean, I don't know about the geographic dispersion at that time, so it could have looked like something they've never seen before.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I think probably quite a lot was stuff they hadn't seen before. But that sort of leads it on to kind of the exotic animals, right? So there are theories that they maybe was something that escaped from a menagerie, because back then people had menageries of wild animals like lions and tigers and pumas,
Right.
and so if it's one of those, then it could be in that. And then I suppose that also, you know, you could say it maybe was something that escaped from menagerie and then bred and then made it hybrid. So it could be like both of those things.
I don't know what large cats are native to the area, but again, I mean, there is precedent for interbreeding, breeding very large animals.
Definitely precedent from things escaping a menagerie. The only thing I always sort of thought with that theory was that if something had escaped from a menagerie, then surely that would have been reported somewhere. Like, oh, by the way, my puma's missing.
Are you sure?
What, that it would have been reported? Or
yeah, I don't know that everyone would report it. I mean, there are people that didn't, like that one woman who didn't say anything until all of a sudden, you know, like leopards and stuff started showing up on people's properties, and she's like, oh yeah, I kind of just let them all out.
Because I mean, there's also the idea that maybe if it started killing people, they just thought, oh god, I should keep quiet about that.
Yeah, just, you know,
maybe I just shouldn't. Yeah.
So again, like, that's quite a rational theory that could, you know, it has kind of one foot in reality. Yeah, it could have been possible, I suppose. Although I'm not sure how many menageries there would have been down there, because it's quite rural, which leads me to believe that it was probably not super well off, and even the well off people were not as well off as the kind of city people. So would they have been able to afford menageries and stuff? I mean, it was definitely a rural area.
Well, what about like a summer house or?
Yeah, and there were lords, so I mean, they could have. That they were kind of. It was almost like feudal, so they were kind of
country
like.
manor.
Yeah, and they were the people that could possibly have afforded it. I just wondered if. I don't know, how well off the lords were of the area of Cheveldan, but who knows? One thing I should probably point out, coming up as a bonus episode, I've got an interview sorted, or I'm sorting out an interview with the guy Alain Bonnet, who is the author to the document that has thousands of pages worth of all of the information, all the communications and everything. So a lot of these questions will probably be answered in the bonus episode. So we can speculate now, and he'll probably have a lot more knowledge. So that's going to come up possibly next week. But anyway, just thought I'd drop that in there.
He's the one that authored your source document, right?
Yeah, he also, so basically he gathered all of the first like primary sources, and has he like just put them all together in one document, and then kind of arranged them in chronological order, and then kind of explained a bit about some of the a lot of the communications between the authorities and stuff, which was pretty amazing, really. The Great Northwestern Tree Badger. See, I that's what I would like it to have been, something like that, which kind of does lead me on to mythical creatures. Do we think it was a mythical creature? Do we think there's any chance that it was something like a tree badger, or a skunk ape, or one of those?
Bat Squatch.
Yeah.
A monkey bat.
Because I mean, there are theories, and people legitimately believe that it could have been like werewolves, for example.
That would, I mean.
Does anyone here believe in things like that, like werewolves?
If we're going to
Mothman.
Except Mothman didn't really
jackalope.
do do harm. I mean, he was more the
Mothman.
vortex of doom.
Yeah, he kind of.
Didn't he just make people crap themselves?
Pretty much.
I'm all for Bigfoot, Victoria. You know that. It's always Bigfoot. But I don't think Bigfoot's going to rip people's heads off, though. I mean, maybe if he was really mad. But, oh, Dolly Face. You got to hit me up on Discord private message.
Oh my gosh!
Seriously.
Yeah, right. You need to come on and talk about your Sasquatch encounters.
And I'm dead serious on that. I don't know if you're on Discord or not, but hop onto Discord and
please
private
join
message
the Discord.
me. Yeah, if you're not on it,
it's
please
so
do.
Much fun.
Please do.
And I'm going to plug another podcast here. Has anyone heard Sasquatch Chronicles? Because that's basically Bigfoot encounters, and
I love it.
Amazing.
Aren't you glad I showed you Sasquatch Chronicles?
I am.
Isn't it great?
I am. It's brilliant. I love it. I know I'm not even a big believer in like Bigfoot, and I still love that podcast. I think it's amazing.
It's great. I love it. Yeah, if you could look into joining Discord, that'd be
There's
awesome.
links. I think there should be a link for it in the description.
In the description on the YouTube channel. Yep.
Mm.
It's there.
Yeah, I definitely believe in Bigfoot more than I believe in werewolves. Morelli, yeah, me too. So, I mean, you know, does anyone is anyone on board with that kind of theory? Because I mean, it was a theory that I say werewolves came a lot of like the canon or traditional kind of folklore for werewolves came from this story, which we'll kind of get to later with Chastel and his silver bullets. But yeah, I mean,
that's right. Yeah.
And then my kind of theory, which is really boring, was it just a wolf pack, like a pack of wolves, and it was all different, and it wasn't one singular animal.
But they hunt in packs. That's the problem.
Wolves.
Yeah. They hunt in packs.
See, it's the most rational explanation, right? But it's also the explanation that doesn't really fit any of the eyewitness accounts.
Yeah, because I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you've ever seen, but they have a coordinated like hunt strategy when they hunt.
Yep.
They hunt in packs. There's always a lead, and the lead wolf decides which animal out of it's going to take down, and it's very coordinated. They've got a pretty good strategy pinned down, but they typically don't hunt alone.
It's actually a very cool thing to watch them hunt.
It really is.
Yeah. You see them kind of pick out their prey, and everybody moves into position, and
it sounds really horrible, but it is really neat. just to watch them work. I mean, it's interesting to watch a group of animals just work together like that, and in a coordinated effort, like without language. I mean, and I think that's the thing we always get hooked on is that well, they can't talk to each other. Well, they don't need that.
Yeah, has anyone ever seen Blue Planet? Or not Planet Earth, and it films them a bunch of wild dogs from over the top, like bird's eye view of the way they're kind of flanking it and things like that. Amazing. Yeah. But like Copper says, I believe no, was it if it was wolf pack, would there have been a body left? If I kind of know what you mean. I mean, if it was a whole pack, probably not, right?
It would have been.
I mean, as grim as that kind of thought is, if it was a whole pack, there probably wouldn't have been much of a body at all left, right? They would have polished that off, you'd have thought.
Unless something scared them off, no, there wouldn't have been much left at all.
And like I say, like the eyewitness accounts, like they always speak of it as a singular animal. And possibly one of the most interesting things that I thought about the whole thing was that in the eyewitness accounts, not a single person calls it a wolf.
That's what really surprises me, because they knew what a wolf looked like. They were familiar with what wolves were.
Yeah. I mean, they were common in the area. Like if this was just a regular wolf attack, I don't think it would have been a big deal really, because that was quite common.
They dealt with them like all the time.
I do think the one element that is kind of twisted of people saying it was mainly women and children. I I don't think that really means anything. I think that's more just a product of the social kind of hierarchy at the time. Like there were children out working with the animals, so of course they were going to be the most likely to be attacked. So I don't think that really means much. But
well, I mean, from the perspective of a wolf attack, they are going to take what they perceive as weaker, which is going to be the smallest.
Yeah. There were daylight attacks. Yeah, they were. That's
yeah.
Morelli. Yeah. So there were attacks. Yeah, right throughout. They were kind of whenever people were around, there were attacks. Some of them, I think, like the earliest I remember is like midday, and there were ones at like 5 o'clock. Definitely. The latest I saw was about 7 or 8 at night. But then I suppose that's probably the latest people would have been out, like with, grazing their animals and stuff like that. There weren't any like overnight, but then again, people probably weren't out overnight.
Not usually, but I mean, it's not like when wolves kill, they don't take the entire body and go and hide it somewhere. I mean, there's remains left, and they're just usually scattered by the time people find them. But if people were looking that soon after the attack, because somebody goes missing, they're going to be looking for him the next day. I mean, there's going to be something there to find.
See, one of the gross ones, I mean, it's getting a little bit gross, but that's all right. It's late enough, isn't it? One of the kind of gross things, it was that, so the little girl that got eaten, and they basically just buried her arm. Because that was all they had left. But that was like 50 paces from her front door, and her mum and brothers saw it happen. So they witnessed that. They would have been able to say like that was just a wolf or whatever, but they didn't. They didn't call it a wolf, and that was all that was left.
Yes, it was France, Dolly Base 87.
Sorry, it's death by cheese, and it blew up from there. Or just kind of really bad cheese nightmares.
The wine fermented too long.
Yeah, they're all just getting like going to sleep and having these creepy cheese nightmares, cheese dreams. So
that's good.
One of the other theories, which I quite liked, the kind of inventiveness of it, but I don't think it makes any sense when you think about it, was that it wasn't actually animal at all, and it was possibly a human.
I like that theory. That's a fun theory. Yeah. I'm not saying it's realistic. I'm just saying it's fun.
Yeah. It's an interesting take on it, isn't it?
No, it really is.
Dressed up as a wild animal.
Well, there are both, actually. Funny you say that. There are both. There was, for a while, reports that this guy said that he saw it jump up on its hind legs and it had buttons down its belly. So there were, for a while, kind of reports that it was a man in a suit.
Like some leftover berserker from the medieval times, or like
I mean, I'm not quite
sure.
So it was
the Vikings?
Yeah, the Vikings.
We're just going to attribute this one to the Vikings.
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely don't think it. I think if it was someone killing someone, I think it's possible. Like, but it obviously wasn't. Like, I think if it was a human, or a human was involved, then it was like a mixture of things. Like perhaps there was a human going around killing people on the side, if you like, because it doesn't tally with the eyewitness reports again, right? Because if it was a human, why would people? I mean, people didn't call it a wolf, but they didn't call it a human either. They definitely called it an animal. So, I don't know too many humans that walk on all fours and have a face like a pig and a body like a dog and a tail. So,
I guess it all depends on how creative you are with your taxidermy.
Evidence of the first furry. Yeah, it's a fursuit. Yeah.
Ew. I just shrugged at her, but like, oh. Oh, that's funny.
No, that's a terrible mental image.
I can guarantee there's been furry fan art of the beast of Cheval Down. I didn't find any, unfortunately, but talk amongst yourselves. Okay. I'm sure I can find some.
Let's not. Let's pretend. No screen sharing.
Yes, let's not do that.
So 1870s,
that-
yeah. Okay. So it started in
fact that-
17. Go ahead, Sharona.
The fact that it had kind of that pig-like face with a wolf or dog body does kind of lend itself to the hybrid theory.
Yeah, so there was the
animals that have been crossbred and the
Mhm.
genetics don't match up quite right, and it produces things like there was, I want to say it was a liger, a cross between a lion and a tiger that had kind of like a pug nose because the genetics just weren't pure enough for it not to be malformed.
Yeah, it's kind of like, hey, you guys from like it's all a bit kind of wrong from the Goonies. I mean,
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, just kind of all a bit
about,
wrong,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
Right.
I know what you're talking about.
But yeah, dog snouts can look piggish when snarling as well. Yeah, Morelli in chat says that. That's true. Yeah, they do kind of bundle
yes, they
up.
do have
They
bears.
bundle the skin back up on itself, don't they? And kind of turn up. Do they have bears in France?
Yeah.
Do you know what? I don't know.
They do.
At that time, I probably guessed, yeah, maybe it was in the mountains.
No,
And
they
if it
do.
escaped from a menagerie, they would. Yeah.
They did. They I'm trying to remember what kind.
So I mean,
Brown
they
bears. They have brown bears.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, I was surprised they even had wolves, but because they definitely don't now. But I mean, they were all over the place through the Middle Ages until they were hunted to extinction. But yeah, I mean, so I mean, if they had bears and wolves, they could easily have had surely other kind of like big cats and stuff like that as well. So the pig description only comes from one eyewitness who called it a pig face.
Have you ever run into a wild boar?
I've never personally run into we don't have wild boars in England. We don't have anything interesting in England.
That's right.
Basically.
You guys don't have any big fun, I'm gonna eat you creatures.
It's the most beige country you've ever known. We have beige weather, beige animals, beige everything. Nothing quite dangerous enough to be interesting.
I just want to take a British person and just drop him in the middle of Death Valley, or just drop him in the middle of Arizona and see what happens.
Just pure.
We'll put sunscreen on him first because we don't want him to bake beforehand.
I think it would just be a meltdown.
We don't want him to die of sunburn before anything gets to him.
You would come back an hour later and they would just be curled in a ball, twitching.
Hold on, Dollyface says there are plenty of boars in England. Are there? I mean, if you say they are, I'm going to believe you.
There are obviously none in Brighton.
Yeah, they're not in my city, but I don't believe it. There probably are.
Victoria says yes. And yes, and that was my point, Victoria, because she says they are brutal. And I said, and that was kind of what I was trying to get to is, one, boars can get to be absolutely huge, just massive creatures.
They're like the size of a car, right?
They can be. I mean, they don't have to be, but they can be. But they are mean. I mean, just all out mean.
Having worked in a zoo, I can confirm that.
Sorry,
yeah, boars, massive, huge. And yes, there are plenty of boars in England. I'm one of them.
It's 2:30 in the morning over there for him.
Yeah, a little bit slow on the update.
He only woke up about 15 minutes before this thing started.
Yeah, so I mean, boars are pretty massive, but would a boar rip something up?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Really?
They will. Oh, a boar will kill a hunting dog easily.
But would it? Well, I suppose if it would kill a hunting dog, it would kill a small child as well.
Oh yeah. They're mean. I mean, they are just all out mean.
Can it jump? Can it go on its hind legs?
Well, if it's
That's
big enough.
That's my quadruped going on hind legs, by the way.
I was going to say.
That's very much like my T-Rex. So
you should hear his Cockney accent. It's great.
Well, because they said it attacked by jumping up at people's throats on its hind legs. So, I mean, is that something a boar could do?
I don't know if they would attack like that.
But I mean, I think that for a boar to attack like a small child, and for the person witnessing the attack to think that it got onto its hind legs and knocked it over, isn't that far off.
So I mean, there's also
to be honest with you, all it really has to do is like charge the kid, and the kid's going to fall backwards, and it's going to look like it's kind of jumped on it and knocked it over.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there is also the idea that it could just be like a mixture, like of boars, wolves, all sorts. And
you know what else? That because the thick wiry hair thing that Copper said. Yeah, but I've seen some of the boars without tusks, though.
It's true that no one said they had tusks. Yeah, they did say they had horns. Some of them.
That's true, and
also some people said they had like 2 big teeth in the front. So maybe they could
the tusks. Yeah, but that would also explain the difference in the colors, because I mean, you had them giving colors everywhere from like a dark gray to a red.
Yeah. It was all over the shop.
And boars do have. I mean, they vary. The colors vary. So I could see that as something that could be, that could be a reason for the difference in the colors that they're giving. Because when they started saying that they were seeing them like red and then gray, and it kind of took the wolf thing away from me, because the wolves
really?
They had what was it, laudanum? Didn't they have opium?
Yeah,
I thought they had opium. Yeah, they did. They had opium. That's good enough. From what I understand, they used to just take it for headaches. So okay, poor people. I like her.
So like so about the colors and stuff, some people said that the description was very close to a juvenile tiger or lion. I think it was a lion, a juvenile lion, because of the black stripe down the back.
Well, the juvenile, they're usually kind of, this sounds stupid, but they're usually kind of spotted when they're born, because they have to blend in with the grasses. And then as they get older, that's when they start turning that kind of tawny color, kind of beige, as you would put it. But they usually don't get that stripe until they're a little bit older.
What about like a Tasmanian tiger?
See, that's what I was thinking of, and I can't remember when they went extinct. I guess I could Google.
They're quite savage as well, aren't they?
Sitting right in front of me.
Well, they were.
So, like, no matter like about the animal,
a thylacine. A thylacine, is that what you meant?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Look, hold on.
So, like, if it was like any of these or none of them, does anyone think that it was actually like one singular animal, or does anyone think, is the common consensus that it was like, if not a pack, like hunted in a pack, it was different animals, but they were just in the area?
I just don't see it being one specific animal. I will subscribe to the singular serial killer story before I will one specific wolf going around killing everything.
Yeah, because it definitely seems to specifically be targeting humans. And I feel like with a wolf, it would be targeting the livestock first.
Seem to be scared of the livestock in most cases, like the bigger livestock, like oxen and things like that, seem to scare it away.
Because there's a lot of them.
Which
mean, if you look at a group and you say, okay, there's a bunch of those kinds of things, but there's only one of that little thing over there. I'm gonna kill the little thing over there instead of try to attack the big group of, sheep
And
or,
that's
or
kind of
something like that. I
predator
mean,
pack mentality. You
yeah, go
pull
for the
out
weak
the
link.
weakest, smallest.
So Lotus Flower says, I think their imaginations ran wild and it became a big fish story, mass hysteria.
yeah.
That's kind of what that's
Totally.
Yeah.
pretty much what I thought as well, was that
Yeah.
multiple beasts but only one reward. Yeah. So it was like they were basically like they had some kind of issue with, even if, I mean, they had an issue with wolves anyway. So that's established. And I wondered if it was like perhaps there was like a big wolf in the area, but that big wolf idea kind of then became like Lotus Flower says, like a big fish story, and then sort of every wolf attack kind of got attributed to this one kind of slightly larger wolf that was actually just a wolf that was slightly, maybe it was kind of slightly bigger, but it didn't need to have killed every single one by itself. It just needs to have existed and been seen by like a couple of people to then kind of Chinese whisper out of control.
Yeah.
Because the distance it was traveling between attacks on some days was quite far.
It was pretty far, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it wasn't, and you can track, like again, like Lotus Flower says, like if you track the kind of reports and eyewitness testimony, it's like a lot of folklore where it kind of evolves in these kind of amazing ways. Like it starts off actually quite simple, and then a year later somehow it's like transformed into having like fiery eyes and all the rest of it.
Flames coming out of its feet and like breathing blue flames.
Exactly.
I
I mean, by the end of it, it had like cloven hooves rather than paws, and eyes that could turn people ill just by looking at them and things like that. And the stench was an interesting one. Like apparently it stank of like rotten flesh or whatever.
So it was the devil.
Yeah, basically, I think that's probably what they were getting at, was that it was some kind of demon or devil. So it kind of went from being quite a normal animal to like this like demon. And you can kind of track that through the newspaper reports and the witness testimonies and stuff, like how it's kind of subtly changing as it goes. So yeah, I kind of tend to agree that that's my kind of thing. Same as Lotus Flower says, that it was kind of a big fish story that sort of snowballed out.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Because if you can track the progression, that's probably exactly what was going on.
Yeah.
How many times that happened in history? It just, the story gets bigger and bigger as it goes on.
So then, like Copper says, it makes you wonder how many actually saw the creature or saw it and embellished their stories. If there was so much mass hysteria, yeah. See, a lot of the stories got kind of attributed to being like people that are hysterical were kind of not quite sure what they saw because they're in shock or whatever. But also, I think there's kind of a polite way of saying like, "Oh shit."
Yeah.
So I think it was a bit of both. Like, I think people perhaps embellished stuff, and other people perhaps were scared and said things that made it seem more. But I think there was a lot of bull in it. Yeah. So Lotus Flower said it served the king, beast killed, case closed. So that kind of moves on to what happened to it and why the end. Because it is quite a political story, interestingly.
Yeah.
Do we think that Antoine killed it, or Chastel killed it, or neither? So Antoine's story, first of all, he just decided to go off to a different area.
Some area where there's no reports whatsoever being made,
and there's also not so
there's
many
a lot
people.
of wolves, but there's a lot of wolves, but just no reports of anything. I mean, come on.
He was totally suspicious, right?
He was. Yeah, don't get me started.
Yeah,
I don't know.
like
In my head, I'm totally picturing like him plotting out the path of it and going, "That's where it's going next." Like trying to predict its movement.
I can see him
I
being
think he was just
in the
trying to
middle of
predict where
nowhere.
no one was going to be, and he
exactly.
was like, "I'm going to go over there
Exactly.
and catch like this great wolf. I'm sure."
I could see him being a total chicken and and, and saying, "I'm going to go over here because everybody's really coming down on me for, not slaying the dragon, and so I'm going to go over here and prove them wrong." And so then he goes to his little area, kills a look, and says, "Look, guys, I got it."
I like the fact
Problem solved.
it wasn't actually a very big wolf. Like the wolf that
No.
he caught wasn't really
No,
like very big.
it wasn't.
It was
Yeah.
just a wolf. Like the very first the autopsy report was just, "You caught a wolf. Well done."
But no, I think he was full of crap, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah,
I
me
think
too.
he was just upset because everyone was coming down on him.
It's a bit of a conspiracy, but the thing is, I think it's true. Like he did have issues. He was a bit sensitive a bit touchy, and
Yeah, I rolled my eyes. That's right. Yeah, no. I mean, come on. He just needed to man up and accept the fact that he couldn't find it and couldn't kill whatever it was that needed to be killed and just move on.
because everyone was kind of like this guy was like, the king's right hand man or whatever, and he was basically failing miserably, and even the farmers were kind of like, "This guy, have you seen him?" Like, so yeah, I do think it was total nonsense. So what about Chastell's story then? So this man crept up on the wolf. In fact, he didn't even creep up. He kind of just walked up to it.
Just
The wolf
like secret.
chilled out whilst he said his prayers, put his book away, took his glasses off, put them away, shouldered his gun, and shot it.
The wolf's like, "Yeah, I'm here. We're good."
Yeah, I got all the time in the world. You go ahead and do your thing. I'll just sit over here. I feel like if the last guy was full of it, this guy was even more full of it.
Yeah.
He definitely made a story out of it, right? I mean, he had blessed bullets or blessed bullets that were made of silver, and
I'm surprised he didn't say they were blessed by the Pope himself. I mean, honest to God.
But apparently everyone in the area, apparently, I mean, who knows, but as far as it was reported, like everyone in the area basically bought his story. So is that just them that sort of thinking they would rather have someone like a local that dealt with the issue rather than the king's right hand man? Like, I think I said that in the episode, because I mean the king's right hand man would have been really unpopular, and maybe they just didn't want that, it concluding in that way. Maybe it was more of a satisfying conclusion to have a local kind of do it.
I think they got sick of footing the tab too. Didn't the villagers have to pay for everything?
No, so it was all paid by like
No?
taxes and stuff. But so well, yes, to a degree, yeah, because I mean it was
Because they had to board them and stuff. It's not like they had, a Holiday Inn for them all to stay in.
it was all paid for with public money, yeah. So indirectly, yes, they did sort of pay for everything because it was a bit like tax money and stuff. And I mean, it's quite strange. I trying to work out the social structure and the systems was quite difficult, but basically it was kind of in a way how you could imagine like communism, I guess. It was like feudal, and they were like paying them, like the peasant class were paid like a certain kind of stipend, like annual yearly wage, and it was bugger all basically. So yeah, they were kind of getting screwed from both ends with this. Hero of the village sure would tickle local girls. Yeah, like it's kind of like the local legend, the local hero. He ended up with like a statue built after him and things like that. So,
I'm sure the bullets are actually made from the metal out of the Holy Grail.
yeah, I bet. I mean, I bet there were stories like that. It would have
Blessed by
grown, right?
Jesus himself.
Exactly.
So, like, yeah.
Did you... Victoria says, Gaston, is that you? Well, hello.
Hello. Nice to see you.
Hello, how are you? Oh,
A new person.
Yes, sorry about that. Is my little loud?
Welcome. Everyone's always welcome. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, very good. So, what do you reckon? What's your thoughts on the Beast of Cheveldan?
Well, actually, I think there's a few different things that have to be considered.
What do you reckon? What's your thoughts on the Beast of Cheveldan?
And let me. I think I'm getting some reverb.
Oh, is it muting? Perhaps.
Maybe you might.
How's that?
I think he just needs to mute like his YouTube channel, maybe, because it sounded like there was a bit of a delay.
Okay.
Cool.
Hold on, sorry about that. My dog is.
That's all right.
It's okay.
Everyone always has technical issues when they first come on.
Okay. Go. All right. How about that?
Sounds good.
Come here, Bo. Come here. So a couple of thoughts. One
Bo
has
says,
to do with werewolves.
Bo says he could have taken the beast hands down.
He couldn't. He's a year old. He's a total wimp. He's a great boy. He's an old English sheepdog. It's okay, buddy. So a couple of thoughts on it is that the wolf tradition in Europe, and dating back, even mentioning, like, for example, like you just were, the using the Holy Grail and whatnot. Even in the Grail stories, there's discussion of werewolves and cannibals and so on and so forth. To be a werewolf was at one time to be considered alienated or an outsider or an outlaw. Like Robin Hood was called a wolf's head, and it meant an outlaw. So there was a lot of conflation in some of the ideas of what a wolf is, an outsider is, an outlaw, somebody who's beyond the law, as well as ideas of magic, thinking of magic and the stars, for example, like saying that for a long time in Northern Europe and actually throughout Europe, the constellation the Hyades was considered the wolf. So it was considered to have starry, burning eyes, fiery eyes. Its mouth was fiery, and so on. The tradition became like fairly common when describing monsters because of that. It was thought of as the center point of magic. It's like if it was basically starry in qualities, burning, giant, and so on. So like there, it sounds like there were a couple of things going on. Like the folklore was overriding and blending in with some actual events of either possibly an attack of an animal, but also possibly murders. Several things going on at once that were just wrapped up in a narrative. And so then the opportunity. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was going to say, like, because that goes back to Peter Stumpf, doesn't it? Like that.
Yes.
With that, you know, was he actually a werewolf or was he just a criminal? Same.
Well, and there's also, it's like, how do you, if you have the knowledge of what that is, and we take on roles in social things right now where we're adopting personas that are centuries old. We aren't even aware of them, and we still do it. You know, how much he was just following the presets of narrative that he understood them. It's hard to say. You know, it's like, who do you? How do you define the thing that you're socially part of, but unaware you're part of it?
I find that's quite interesting with these kind of stories as well, where oh my god, dogs everywhere. where the folklore, like you say, starts overriding, like, and it becomes this mishmash of trying to read between the lines of, so what was literal and what was figurative, you know, and it gets quite sort of a medley of just ideas. And that's, I find that really fascinating with these stories, because if you take everything literally, you can go right into the world of kind of really off the rails quite quickly. You know, you have to kind of always bear that in mind. I that's probably one of the things that I love the most about these stories, actually, is the way you have to kind of try and see it from the perspective where all this kind of stuff was perhaps not meant literally, you know, perhaps it was meant like as kind of metaphors for other things, and that I find that quite fascinating. Before we get too deep here, you've got a skeleton behind you.
I do. I do. I'm an artist, and I teach anatomy, among other things.
Oh, right, okay. So you're not a murderer. That's not like your latest victim.
I'm too delicate for that kind of.
Good eye, bet.
So Copper says, why were people from the medieval ages onwards so obsessed with wolves and the idea of werewolves? So I think that might be a bit like what you were saying, how wolf was kind of metaphorically.
Well, the wolves are, it's an interesting thing, because if you go back to even like Sumer, there's a couple of documents about being turned into a wolf. To differentiate the wild from basically civilized things or village life. There was considered a real delineation between the animal and the man. And people who there were people who were ritually designated to perform sacrifices. Nobody really liked sacrificing. And so sometimes you'd draw lots. You'd have to eat a stew that had a piece of sheep meat in it, and then you would have to then perform the sacrifice. So nobody wanted to be this position, but when you did have to do that, you'd also be an outcast. You'd be out of the group. You were the scapegoat. You had to carry away the sin of having performed a needed sacrifice, whether it was cattle or whatnot. So being a wolf or being a wolfish person, and if you go to like Egypt, there's the Ba priests who were leopard men instead. Or you can go anywhere in the world where there's sacrifices, and there's always this ritual figure, but they usually are recognized as being an animal or a beast, as opposed to being a man. So that type of the wolf thing was actually, it wasn't just being an outsider, it was like a holy position also. So it was also considered somewhat divine. And being a leper was also considered the same thing. Like leprosy, the word lupus in Latin means wolf and white skin disease. So it was, when you read about like in really ancient stuff about somebody becoming a leper, they're saying they've actually become a magical other. They've become a separated thing, a separated being. Wolves became attached to it because they were predatory, because they smart, they killed, and they had like human-like stares and things like that. There's a fairly large body of work on why wolves and whatnot, and how far that tradition goes forward. But it can be found everywhere. It can even be found like in the US, the traditions of the coyote, they're also related to this thing. So they go back far, far into human history, like well before documentation, and when it's hard to say how far back.
That's pretty crazy.
If I'm talking too much, by the way, let me know.
No, you're fine.
No, this is great. I'm trying to remember, because I didn't look at any of this stuff for this episode, but I remember when I did the Peter Strumpf episode, I did kind of read a little bit into that idea, and again, then it was with the idea that this man was a wolf, perhaps wasn't literal, and that also had like a lot of religious, because obviously there it was the restoration and things like that. So that goes into it there, but it was such a long time ago that my brain's kind of flooded that out now. Like the information's kind of gone.
Yeah.
So as you're speaking, I'm kind of getting little bits like, oh yeah. So that's like, it reminds me a lot of Peter Stumpf. Like a lot of what you're talking about now is the stuff that I remember reading then. But
Well,
it's a fascinating subject.
Also, like among the Germans, like even like going back to like the 10th and 11th century and stuff like that, the Germans actually considered the Jews to be a type of estranged beast person like this. Like when during the Crusades, the German version of the Knights Templar didn't go to the Holy Land. They actually stayed home and killed Jews in their area because they were the perennial strangers. They were the perennial outsider and thought to be not human things but monsters. And so that went on in Europe for a very long time. In fact, there were among prostitutes, lepers, and Jews, they all had to wear common insignia, saying they were basically a same type of person. And that was a thing that went on in the Middle Ages. It's very strange, the roles and the positions that take place with this. And who was whom. Like in some places where the wolf was considered the villain, you know, when the wolf was considered the bad guy, that was one set of things. But then in other places, the wolf was considered like this kind of super cool dude, like in Robin Goodfellow or Puck is actually part of this tradition. So was Robin Hood. It was the Green Man, but sometimes he was also the Green Wolf. And like in a lot of agricultural traditions, the Green Wolf was the Barley Wolf or the Peas Pug, or all these different names where these rituals still go on today. Actually, I have a friend of mine who works at National Geographic, and she did a story a couple of years ago on some of the wild men traditions in Europe. And there's still these things where during harvest time, there's somebody who's possessed by the wolf, and you have to give them a piece of meat, or they bite the lady of the house on the arm or something like that. And it's much lighter now. It isn't dark as it used to be, but it's still present. We still have these things today. So
it's great. Suddenly we've got all academic and like proper deep, but this is the kind of stuff that I like about it. No, I mean, this is really, this is what gets me into the stories, is the kind of the social element of it, like, you know, the social history of it, rather than the kind of the crazy wolf story. You know, it's like the idea that all this stuff is kind of behind what kind of shaped their views to think that it was perhaps a wolf, like that could have been doing it. Like, so it's great. It's fantastic. Where do you know about all this stuff from? Is this like a personal kind of interest? Or
aside from doing the art stuff, I like historical mysteries and treasure hunts, and just lots and lots of reading and corresponding and talking to people and whatnot, being a true nerd. So it's like throughout the years, basically, you know, just trying to track all this stuff. I'm sorry?
I said, I think that's a prerequisite for enjoying this podcast. You have to be a little bit of a nerd.
Just a little bit.
It's a cool podcast. It's a pretty cool podcast. I've listened to it from the start.
Really
and, you do a nice job of it.
I appreciate it. Cheers. No, it's great. I just wish, to be honest, now we're talking like this, like I just wish that I had more knowledge on the actual subjects, because a lot of the time it's quite narrow, like, because obviously I've read very narrowly for the topic, if you like, because I don't have like weeks and weeks and weeks to put them together. So it's like I can only kind of talk within like a very kind of strict boundary. And once we kind of go like past this, then it's like, oh wow, this is like really interesting, but I'm not sure I have a lot to add. but go ahead, like Paul, you're doing a great stellar job. So
I'm actually like listening to your podcast, talking to other people. It actually serves as a jumping off point to have variable discussions like this. So, I think you'd have to be like a superhuman to have like in-depth expertise on every one of the topics that you're covering.
Well, you'd be surprised how many people think that I do have that. They email me saying like, tell me about that. And I'm like, dude, I really don't know. Like, I spent like 4 days researching this.
But it does, like a lot of the things that you've brought up, I think are just good introductions to things also, and good ways to start looking at it. Like a couple of the ones that I keep eyeballing are the because I have riddle problems, and I always want to solve mysteries and riddles. The Somerton Man and Who Put Bella in the Wych Elm. They are troubling.
Two of my favorites.
It's like that is troubling business, and it's like it's not my usual thing, and I find it difficult because it's like I'm used to being able to go to either primary source history things or whatnot, but this is like it's close enough in time that I have no idea. It's like there's nothing to find. It's like that's outrageous. They put a lady in a tree. It's like
yeah.
I can't even imagine this. Like that's the worst thing I think I've ever heard. But it's like, ooh, how? What the hell happened? So it's like things like that. Just being able to be introduced to these mysteries that I hadn't, I never run into those. It's like, oh, that's really cool. I gotta keep a part of my brain open for that.
So I was reading about mentioned about the Somerton Man and the Bella one that I was reading about on Reddit. I think it was on Unsolved Mysteries on Reddit. There was a rock been found in France that has I wish I'd read it properly because I just was skimming it the other morning, but it's got like a kind of code on it that's like 200 years old, and they've put it out to the public for people to try and solve it. I'll find a link and post it. But they basically found this like 200-year-old code that they're not really sure what it is. It could be like people that washed up and kind of left this code on this rock, but they've basically chucked it out to the public in the hope that someone might be able to solve it.
It's like some teenagers a couple of 100 years ago went nuts on a rock, and now we're all befuddled.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't want to talk.
Think about it.
That's always the kind of the joke that people say with Somerton Man, and it always makes me kind of cringe and want to cry is when they say, "Oh, I bet it means nothing. It's probably just a load of junk," and you just, no, it can't possibly be.
I don't want to talk about unsolved, undecipherable text because for half a day I thought somebody had actually finally solved the Voynich manuscript, and then I found out that they did not, and it broke my heart.
Oh yeah, so I saw that it hadn't been solved before I saw you write that, and I was like, oh no, you're gonna find out.
You could have told me.
I found it. I saw it too late, unfortunately.
There's been a couple of things like that. A couple of when you can solve a few things like that, especially the older stuff, it's really super disappointing. It's like going through the mystery is like, oh, this is really cool, and then it's like, oh, they were pretty dumb. It's like I got to remember they didn't even have their hands at this point in history, so never mind. You come away and you go, oh, that's not the smartest thing I would have thought. They put a lot of work into it. That's cool. All right, that's fine. So I wonder about whether the Voynich manuscript is like an alchemical treatise or an astronomical alchemical treatise or some Gnostic, holdover, whatever. It's like, in the end, I bet when we find out what it is, we go, oh, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's like
we all go,
first comic book, and we're just throwing all sorts of resources trying to figure out what it is, and
we all go, oh,
it's nothing. And somebody's diary.
Yeah.
Somebody got into the mushrooms a little too hard. Yeah.
Gotta remember
Making up their own language.
Just scribbling
for centuries.
Oh my god, that would be so funny.
So,
Well,
Oh.
oh, please go ahead. I'm sorry.
oh no, go ahead, go for it. What were you going to say?
I'm going to sign off. I actually have to finish up a painting.
Oh
So,
right, okay. Well, yeah, thanks
um,
for coming on, man. It's really great to
Hey,
have you on.
Paul.
No, my pleasure. And thanks for doing the podcast and the YouTube channel and everything else. It's fantastic.
Pleasure. Thanks very much, man.
Paul,
Thanks,
before you
Paul.
disappear,
Sure.
I'm going
Nope.
to just interject here. If you are not on the Discord, you should be, because we spend a lot of time talking about these things. So,
No, seriously, you would be great on the
Holly, I
Discord.
didn't mean to step on your toes, but I wanted to slide that in there.
Yeah, it would be fantastic. If you were. I think that not only
I
could you
actually-
contribute so much, that would be great.
I don't actually know what a Discord is. I'm afraid I'm old. So.
To be honest, man, I struggle. Like,
It's okay. It's okay.
Is this part of
I-
the YouTube internet thing? Just
It's this weird interwebs
that
thing.
Googler thing. Just ask the Oracle, I'll tell you. Actually, if you just go onto the Dark Histories website, I think under is it the contact page or support?
you know what? I don't know.
Okay.
I believe the link is below,
There is a link there on the Dark Histories website.
and there's also,
All right, well,
I believe the link is below the or in the description of the YouTube live stream right now.
Okay.
Cool.
I'll
Well, thanks
check
for
that
coming
out.
on, man. Anyway, it's cool to see some new faces. Yeah, so it's great.
Well, my pleasure, and thanks again. Take care.
Pleasure. So
I just learned so much all at once.
yeah, that was good. A sudden
That was
dive
really
to like
great.
the academic
That was
kind of.
great.
Yeah, no, it was great. Really great. So that was good.
And
That
it
was
really got me
awesome.
thinking about like
So much.
fairy tales.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Like the big bad wolf shows up in so many fairy tales. What if it wasn't actually a wolf and it was just a human that they were calling a wolf, which makes fairy tales so much worse now.
Like empathy.
Yeah. Well, so there's a lot that says that this story very much inspired Red Riding Hood, which apparently was heavily inspired by the Beast of Cheveldan. But that when you start tracking the history of these kind of stories, it gets quite murky at the start. But yeah, there were people that said that it kind of was heavily inspired by the Beast of Cheveldan. But yeah.
Well, that's cool.
I'm still looking for this rock that I was just talking about. So talk amongst yourselves.
Yeah, that was amazing. That was so wonderful. And you know what? I'm just gonna say, I think that's what I like best now that we've switched to the Google Hangouts, is that people can just pop in and out like that. It's not as convoluted as it was when we were going through YouTube.
Definitely, yeah.
Not slamming YouTube. I'm just saying, I just think it's much easier for people to pop in and out.
Definitely.
Know,
because before it was like you had to ask me for an invite and I had to invite you, but now you can just hit a link and come in, leave when you want. Yeah, it's really great. It's kind of what I always kind of envisaged for it. Like this kind of hangout was that people could just come in and out when they feel like it, drop a little bit of knowledge and then feck off, whatever. Like, you know.
Yeah, no, that was awesome. And just so I don't know if anybody else knows, because I'm just kind of weird this way. Paul has a website.
You've been stalking Paul.
Maybe. Well, no, he said he was an artist, and so I'm like, oh, cool. I wonder what kind of art he does. He does amazing art. Just let me say that right now. So it's actually his name. I think it's just Paul. I'm gonna say it wrong. Paul Melander or something that I totally didn't say right. .com, I think is what it was. But oh my gosh, it's
really... So come on the Google Hangout and Hallie will stalk you.
Yeah,
instantly.
Insta stalk. But no, honest to God, his art is incredible. Just
so, if you could drop that link on the Discord, that would be awesome.
I think I shall. I will do that right now. I'm all throwing him out there.
Being my
Sorry.
hero.
So, kind of getting back to where we were,
Sorry.
does anyone actually believe any of the stories for this? Like as in like Antoine and Chastel? Does anyone believe either of those two guys?
Absolutely not. No.
No,
I mean,
not at all.
maybe one of them did kill something and attributed that something to all of these murders, but I really don't think so. I think you're absolutely right. They went out and they were like, I'm going to kill a wolf and we're going to call it good. Case closed. Out the door. Everybody can go about their lives now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's probably. I'll drop a link that explains everything about this gourd.
Yeah, actually, if you go to the website and you click on community, it's the first thing that pops up. It's like right there, slam, Discord.
Thank you, Haley, by the way.
Oh,
Hi.
yeah, you're welcome. It's really cool, though. He does some great work. Ben, we might want to reach out to him after.
Okay.
Yeah. For that project that you and I had talked about that one time, you know.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I'm so glad.
Secrets.
Callie.
See, now I'm pretending I know what you're talking about. That's the thing. It's like
It's Paul. He figured it out. He just joined Discord.
Yes! Winning!
Winning. I'm so excited.
So, where are we?
I'm sorry.
Basically,
I believe we were attempting to determine whether or not we actually thought any of this was factual or what.
if it just gets totally lost down a rabbit hole and it was just a few wolves and it's all just gone completely off the plot because people talked it up.
Well, a lot of what Paul said kind of fed into that big fish thing where the folklore kind of overshadowed reality. So as it went on, people were layering more and more of their own kind of rural folk beliefs over what actually happened. So you wound up with this strange pig-faced, dog-bodied creature with fiery eyes that could murder you with a glance.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I think as well. Was it was probably like maybe there were a couple of bigger, kind of larger wolves in the area, and then it just got conflated, like totally out of control. I think Antoine was talking shit. I think it was definitely a royal conspiracy, and I think Chastel probably didn't kill a damn thing. Because I mean, there was not even a body, right? Because they buried it. They said it smelt too bad, and they buried it before anyone even saw it.
Yeah, no, that's right. I forgot about that. They did.
Yeah. So
That's
I think
a bunch of crap.
Nothing to see here. Move along.
They might have not even buried anything. They could have just said it. And
yeah, you
people had
might
to take
like.
and people had to take their word for it. Lotus flower, because it's especially if the animal is sick, it's easy prey. It's a lot easier to kill a small human than it is another animal.
Well, the other thing as well is that mostly young people and women were the people that were out with the cattle.
Yeah, it's
so it's like the demographic was skewed anyway. So it was much more likely to be eating children because they were the ones kind of taking the cattle out to graze or whatever. So if there was an abundance of children around, they were going to be the biggest kind of segment in the victims, I guess.
And when you think about what Hallie said earlier, you have a pack of very large animals and you have one smaller, squishier animal. That's the easiest one to take down.
Yeah,
humans are very squishy when it comes to predatory animals.
There were reports that Chastel killed something, and apparently what he killed had a shoulder of a child in its stomach. like the remains. So maybe Chastel did kill a wolf, and it was wolves killing people. And like, yeah, I think. Yeah, I don't know, Lotus Flower. I don't know if they would take the livestock down because they would be big. I mean, an oxen's much kind of more threatening than a 10-year-old girl, I suppose, or a 10-year-old boy, or I mean, it even killed quite young kids. So I suppose
it'll take what poses the least threat. It's like, yeah.
I mean, ox is quite big, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they're huge. So, I mean, if you're just looking for a meal and you're hungry and you see an ox versus, 10-year-old kid, the kid might kick you, but it's not going to kill you. The ox kicks you, and I mean, if an ox kicks a wolf in the head, it can actually kill it just because of the force behind it.
So there's one story. It attacked 3 children, and they had sticks with like knives tied to the end.
I love those kids.
Yeah. But they actually fended it off, and they're only little kids, but they had sticks. So it's like it didn't take much to scare it away. Like
right.
In all of these stories, they're always unarmed kind of children or whatever, that are by themselves and vulnerable, and they kind of jumped, if you like. Anyone that could kind of defend itself managed to kind of get away, really.
They had their fight or flight wasn't fight, it was flight. And so, I mean, honestly, a predator, when you run, that's the go flag for it's on. It's like, I mean, we had a cougar out in our horse ranch last winter, and I remember having to tell my daughter, if you run into it out there, because it's going to see you far sooner than you see it, but if that happens, don't run. Just don't run.
Yeah.
Because
a lot of that is because
that's go time.
If you turn your back on it, it knows that
you're afraid.
Right.
I'm just getting flashbacks of. Has anyone seen With Nell and I, the film, when he's got the ball and he's the ball's gonna charge him and he has to charge back at the ball? I'm not sure if anyone will have seen this film. It's a very kind of obscure cult film from the olden days.
The olden days.
But it's fucking brilliant. Anyone should go and watch With Nan and I right now if you haven't seen it, because it's probably my most favourite film of all time. Richard E. Grant, brilliant. Anyway, I still can't find this link. I'm going to give up and find it later. So yeah. Hey, Lotus Flowers in With Nan and I. Absolutely brilliant film. One of the best. It is actually my favourite film of all time, I think. Totally getting off topic again. What's your favourite films, everybody?
Current or
Man
classic?
Who Killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot.
Have you seen that yet? Have you watched it yet, Hannah?
I'm sorry. Yeah, it could be a totally crap movie, and I'd still watch it again because Sam Elliott's in it for like 2 hours. So.
Have you actually seen it yet?
Yes. Yeah. Is
it crap or is it good?
No, it wasn't as crap as you thought it was going to be. I can tell you right now.
I definitely think it's going to be a beautiful piece of shit.
Well, I mean, you know what? I've seen worse. Let me put it that way. And you know what? With the ghost documentaries you've seen a lot worse too. So
oh yeah.
What was the one that we were talking about before that was just so incredibly awful? Like, I couldn't even watch all of it. Like, I got
Discovering
like 10 minutes
Bigfoot?
in and Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I got like 10 minutes in and I was like, I can't listen to this guy anymore. I can't.
Is this on the Discord?
Yeah.
This is the Discovering Bigfoot was the documentary that I think Victoria posted.
I think it was, yeah.
Oh my God. And I said that was an hour and 45 minutes of my life I will never get back again. And I didn't know whether to laugh or be embarrassed for the guy or just be like, this is all of the above, or just sit there and go, he's not serious, right? Is he serious? Oh my God, he's serious.
Okay, I need to watch this.
He can't be serious. It was just like,
really
oh my God.
Ben,
I
if
have
you
never.
watch it, I will try watching it again.
Is it bad enough to be good, or is it just bad?
Okay, no. I have never experienced such deep third-party embarrassment, like deep
I
down
love it.
embarrassment for someone in my entire life than I did that. I'm just like, oh, exactly. It's just so cringy. It's cringy. You're just like, oh God. Oh, and I felt so bad for like these academics that he had who were legitimate academics and they're trying to be so nice. I'm like, oh my God.
I didn't get that far in.
Oh, you got to give it a second shot there.
I definitely feel like this is something I need to watch, like when this stream finishes.
Yeah,
like I said, Ben,
if
you watch it, I will try and watch it again.
Oh, he'll watch it.
Is it on Netflix or is it YouTube or Amazon or?
I don't. It's on the. There's the link. She posted it in the movies and documentaries.
I'll check it out if it's in there.
Yeah.
Wicked.
But yeah, it was. Like I said, I got 10 minutes in. It was just. I can't.
It was filmed where you live, Victoria. Well, I've seen pictures of where you live, and it's amazing. So it's worth watching just for that, just for the scenery.
Oh, yeah. No, it was just like, oh.
It was like the Ghost Adventures of Bigfoot hunting.
Oh God.
Oh,
I cannot
okay.
stand that show. I'm sorry. No offense to anyone who enjoys it. I cannot watch that show. I just can't do it.
The ghost hunting shows.
Yeah, Ghost Adventures in particular. I
don't know it, but
So
I just want to strangle someone is what I really want to do.
Yeah, and you know exactly which someone you want to strangle.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
Every time one of those shows comes up, I watch them in the hope that it's going to be good, and it's never good.
See, I watch a lot of them for the comedic value. I can't even watch Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures for that.
I quite like some of the amateur ones on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, me too. Me too.
They're much better. They're less full of shit, basically. I got to watching a couple of groups of guys from England, and they were like, if nothing happens, nothing happens. We're not going to bullshit it. Like, this is what it is. And it was still interesting because they talked about the history of the buildings and all of that kind of stuff without going like, now we're going to bring in this spiritualist medium who's going to just basically read a script. Oh, there's a ghost here. There's a man here called Bob. Does anyone know Bob? Yeah, fuck off, mate. Like, what are you on about? We all know you're talking shit. And then they go, oh, but we've got this skeptic on our team. And he comes in and he says stuff that's just vague enough to make you go, oh, but he doesn't really believe them. But of course he does, because his skepticism is based in bullshit. So, of course, he's really easy to shoot down. So it's like all the audience goes, oh yeah, he's a skeptic, but he's an idiot because of this, this, and this. Well, of course he is, because he was told to say that. That's not a real argument. Like, that's precisely what he's there for. Dreadful. Anyway, yeah, I really like the amateur stuff. That was cool. That was a rant, wasn't it?
And I mean, I've been on ghost hunts where absolutely nothing happens. You sit in the dark for hours and nothing happens.
Yeah, and it's brilliant fun. I've been on a couple of ghost hunts. Yeah. It was great. I loved it, but it was nothing you'd want to film.
Right, exactly. I don't know how the market has been flooded so much with this, but I watch it and enjoy it because it's ridiculous fun.
Yeah, I used to really like Most Haunted. Like the first couple of series of that was amazing.
The first couple.
Yeah, I mean now it's on like series 19 or something. They're really kind of milking that, but
I think things should only be allowed to go like 2, maybe 3 seasons, and then just that's it. No more.
The first couple of series of Most Haunted, like back in the early 2000s, was amazing, and not amazing, but it was fun.
Well, I mean, early Ghost Hunters was fun
it was
too.
good.
And then like the production value went through the roof, and the actual ghost hunting just went terrible.
Went through the gutter.
Yeah.
Basically. So yeah, the Beast.
Yeah, we got it was totally off topic,
Oh,
but
yeah,
that's
Beast.
fine. We're talking about ghosts.
Beast.
That's kind of dark histories. It's
The
fine.
Beast was a ghost. Hey, the Spider-Man was a ghost until he was a real man. Edward Comey.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun.
So yeah, actually, it's I mean, I'm probably going to go to bed. But
Probably should.
yeah, it's good. I think we solved the beast. Paul solved the beast.
As always, Dark History solves it again.
Yeah, see if we need Paul to come on more often and drop his academic bombs and solve the beasts and topics for us. Because I'm not solving anything. Let's be honest.
I've been listening to the back catalog of blurry photos.
I love blurry
All I want to
photos.
say is San Crane.
I love blurry photos.
It's really great. I really want to sort of try and do some kind of thing with, is it Flora or Dave, the one who's left?
Dave, yeah,
Flora,
Dave,
yeah.
Flora's the one that's left. Yeah, he's great. I love it when he does his annual Irish episode where he's like half cocked the whole time.
I'm sure he's kind of half of the every time.
Oh God, he's great.
I do miss Stecco though, because he added a certain comedic element that just can't be replaced.
Oh,
And
I know.
Can I just tell you, those two look nothing like they sound?
It's true.
Like, when I saw them, I was just like, that's
Who's that?
Flora.
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen them.
Yeah, I looked on their Facebook page and I was just like, what?
I always think you should never actually see who is doing the podcast because they never look like what you expect.
I don't know, you looked exactly like I expected.
Yeah.
Really?
Look, you do.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
You do.
Everyone I look up always looks like I always get this imagination of these like people in my mind, and then you see them and you go, oh, that's totally different.
You're like, yeah, that's not you. You're wrong.
Yeah.
You should look like this. Oh my God. Okay, grief. We're precious. Okay.
Cool. Well, thanks for watching, everyone. And if you ever want to come on, you're more than welcome. Next episode's next week, I guess now, next Sunday.
Hooray!
Yeah, and then we'll be back for a couple of weeks for another one of these live streams all about that episode, I guess. So yeah, thanks for watching. Keep eyes out for lots of cool shit happening in the next kind of month or so in terms of for the second anniversary, loads of giveaways, loads of things to be voting on.
Wait, don't go.
I love cool shit.
Okay, so before Ben cuts us all off, in June, for the month of June, remember, Ben? I was going to tell everybody.
Oh, yeah, go for it. See, Hallie is like way more organized than me. So
I feel like Hallie is your administrative assistant.
Yeah, basically, Hallie's like the producer. Like,
she's awesome.
For the month of June, oh, you're so sweet. For the month of June, we are going to do, if you leave a review on iTunes or whatever you use, we're really trying to get up the reviews on iTunes. But if you don't use iTunes and you do, something else, if you use a different podcatcher, that's fine. If you send us a screenshot of the review, if you send it to the email that you can find on, was it Ben
contact@darkhistories.com.
contact@darkhistories.com. Just send a screenshot with your information and we'll send you a sticker pack, which is I think like 4 or 5 different stickers, Dark History stickers. So if you do that, we will go ahead and get those out.
When is this starting? Like, is this starting officially?
June 1.
Oh, right, okay. 1. So this is kind of like, we're just kind of letting people know what's coming.
Yeah, because I think the next time we do a live stream, it'll be like really close to that date. So we're going to do that for the whole month. Yeah.
What if you've already left a review?
Send me a screenshot.
All right.
I was
going to say, do I need to leave a review on something else and send you the screenshot for that? I mean,
no. No, if you're paying attention and you actually know that you've already left one and you do that, I'll take care of you. Don't worry.
Oh, you're the best.
And then, so that's going to be June 1 through June 30th. And then we are also going to be posting the nominations. If you're on Patreon, you should have seen a post that Ben posted saying that the patrons can suggest different categories for the anniversary special that's coming up. If you're not on Patreon, never fear. You're going to get to vote on the different nominees for the different categories. So whoever gets the most votes in each category will be announced during Ben's little second anniversary special episode.
It means nothing, but it's great
It
fun.
means absolutely nothing, but we get all dressed up in fancy clothes. Okay, no, we don't.
I might put my suit on.
Like Ben in his jammies.
I might actually like podcast in my suit for the second anniversary just because I never wear it. In fact, I'm gonna do that, and I'll post pictures. Just you wait.
I just have this mental image of Ben in a T-shirt that has like the Tux screen printed on it. You know the one I'm talking about, Hallie? Yeah.
Oh, you wait. I'm gonna put my suit on, and I might even put my shoes on. In fact, I might even go all out and put my shoes on.
Don't
That's
go overboard.
Scary. But oh my god, you guys. But yeah, and so we've got some other things too. I think that we're like really super close to 500 followers on Facebook. We're at like 466, I think. So hopefully we'll get to that earmark soon. But
Nearly 1,000 on Twitter. What the fuck?
I know, isn't that awesome?
It's
but
ridiculous.
if we do, Ben and I haven't quite set the number yet, but we've got a goal for the number of reviews on iTunes. And if we hit that mark, we'll probably do a couple of giveaways for merchandise. So,
which the merchandise store is kind of settled now, because for a while we kind of jumped around different stores trying to find one that was decent value, really, because I mean, so many of the stores, because I don't do it in bulk, it's all like print on demand, they were so expensive, but we kind of found one that's a good balance now between like not ripping people off and actually being like decent quality.
Yeah, so we're on Redbubble is where it's at right now.
I'm glad you remembered, because I didn't. And I think they're much better pricing now for everyone.
Yeah, the shipping is not nearly as exorbitant as it was on Teespring. Teespring was just ridiculous.
And there's a really cool print on there that was that is kind of I've put it up, but I think we're going to kind of give a couple of those away and things
maybe
later. But that's amazing, and you should check that out just because it's amazing.
There was a special piece of art that an artist had commissioned for Ben for Dark Histories, so you guys should go onto Redbubble and just to take a look at it. It's really cool. It's kind of like old style newsprint with some different episodes highlighted, so it's pretty neat.
Yeah, pleasure, Sonny. That's someone in the chat, by the way. That's the same. Yeah. So is that cool? Have we covered everything we need to cover?
Yes.
Cool.
Right.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks for coming on, and thanks for getting involved in the chat as well.
Thanks, guys.
And I'll see you guys very soon. Cheers.
Bye.